Touch 106. Today is October the 31st, and it's Thursday. And in the studios, we have candidate for District 7 councilor seat, Roy Owens. We have write-in candidate, Jamarhl Crawford. And we have our standing councilor, incumbent City Councilor Tito Jackson. Gentlemen, welcome to Touch 106.1 FM, Fabric of the Black Community.
Thank you for having us.
And we're going to give you 30 seconds to introduce yourselves. Roy?
First I want to say, give it unto God and His Son Christ Jesus, and to Touch 106. Thank you for inviting me here this morning, and it's an honor and a pleasure. And again, thank you.
All right, we're going to correct you out of love. It's 106, all right? 106. Jamarhl Crawford.
Hello, good morning, Touch family. Jamarhl Crawford from Roxbury, son of Roxbury. Many of you already know me from various past appearances on Touch. Community activist and organizer. I'm not a politician, but I'm running for Boston City Council District 7 as a write-in sticker candidate. And on Tuesday, November 5th, I hope that you vote for me, the publisher and editor of theblackstonian.com.
City Councilor Tito Jackson.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back here on Touch 106.1. I wish I was here this Monday morning for the Council's Corner, which is a show that we did for actually well over 2 years to make sure that we continue to have this community connected. I go to work every single day as your city councilor to fight for good schools for our young people, safer streets, and also basic city services for everybody. And so I'm going to continue that fight in the next 2 years if I have the opportunity to be re-elected on November 5th.
Sunshine?
The other night, there was a forum held at Hibernian Hall with all three of you gentlemen sitting on the panel and responding to the community's request. My first question is, in District 7, we do have Councilor Jackson, who holds the seat currently. Please, Councilor Jackson, rate your performance as City Councilor, and to Jamarhl Crawford and Roy Owens, also please explain how he has or has not performed and why you're running against or to hold that seat and not against Councilor Jackson.
Okay, Sunshine, thank you very much for your question. I think we've done a very good job in the first 2.5 years. I've been able to pass legislation to raise the dropout age from age 16 to 18. I've also been able to pass legislation at the council to make it actually make stores have to be licensed to sell a knife to make sure. We did that actually with the Mothers for Justice and Equality. We've done a great deal to bring businesses into the community, and currently we have over $170 million coming into the community from our capital budget. And so there is definitely more to do, a whole lot more to do, and I look forward to having the opportunity on November 5th, November 6th, November 7th, and onward to continue to raise up our community. In addition, we've worked really hard on Madison Park Vocational Technical High School to bring that school up to snuff with the Friends of Madison. I'm very proud of the work that I've done there. Really looking forward to have the opportunity to go back and do good work for this neighborhood and community.
And Roy Owens.
I'm running for City Council because we have a lack of support for the community from District 7. This summer, as you know, when they closed down streets from Dudley to Blue Hill Ave, 40 churches were affected, and during the church hours, and this is an international movement, secular organization to shut down churches, and it's happening in South America and other places. Tito supports that, and then I spoke to him concerning why are you supporting closing down churches on Sunday during church hours. He said it's a great thing, a great opportunity for the youth to be able to get out and express themselves. My question, I thought to him, looking back, now he had a question that Tito said on Monday night, and that African American and black community should get behind the gay and lesbian movement. My question is, he says the fastest movement that's coming up, young people coming up. I'd like to know, why does he see that as one of the fastest movement that's coming up today? And what is his rationale? If it's the fastest movement that's coming up, how does that come about?
I think that's a question that you can ask him offline. We're going to conduct the questions here. You will conduct the answers. Jamarhl Crawford.
Well, I'm running not against Tito Jackson, and that's something that happens too many times in politics. I'm not running against Tito. I'm running for the community, running for the city council seat. So first of all, the reason I'm doing that is because our community is in a dire and critical state. We are suffering the most, we need the most, we get the least, and I would submit that the representation that Mr. Jackson has provided has not been sufficient to really, handle and meet our needs. And to point that out, because you asked in terms of the service or the performance thus far, we know, and it's unfortunate that at the debate, Mr. Owens made some points about Mr. Jackson, but because of the laughter and whatnot, they weren't taken in the serious nature that they are. Mr. Jackson, when he ran originally, did make the promise to have a district office. That has not happened. And then also, too, did make the promise to have a roving office. That did not happen. Those are just two examples. I'm sure we'll get into more.
617-445-1061 is the phone number. Let's go to the phone lines. Gentlemen, please, your microphones are live.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, caller. Robin, are you there?
Yes, I was wondering about all the new housing that they're putting up. How do you sign up for this? Because when they get finished, when you look up, people already moved in, they're filled to capacity, but nobody's getting our information where to go apply for these apartments. My husband is on a third floor. It's no handicap accessible. He has to climb 3 flights of stairs, and he has really bad fluid. We need to get out of here and get him on a first floor somewhere. And I see all this new housing up, but where do we go and apply? Who do we talk to?
Roy Owens.
You should talk to the agencies that are putting them up. That's the first thing to do. Also, I would say that if you need new housing, also you can talk to the Boston Housing Department, the BHA. And also there are a number of, like I would say, Madison Park community, which also have the areas for people who are handicapped. So there are a number, and I think you also can call City Hall, and they have community outreach agency coordinators for each district. They have like 9 districts in the city of Boston, so you have community outreach people who also can refer you to the different housing. Okay.
Jamarhl Crawford.
In terms of housing, which is obviously a critical issue in the city, there are many agencies available to help you walk through that. I would call any of your local community organizations that deal with housing issues. Yes, call the BHA, call the neighborhood the Office of Neighborhood Development. You can call your local CDCs or neighborhood development offices as well. Organizations such as Project Right and others, all who have information about signing up. Depending on if it's public housing or what have you, it is the sign-in or sign-up process varies in each time. So I would encourage you also to go onto the website that we created, district7boston.com. That's district7boston.com, where you can also find a lot of this information already listed and gathered for you.
Counselor.
Thank you very much. There is a lot of housing that's going up, and you can actually call my office, and also I'd love to grab your information so we can get your needs and information so we can deal with your issue. We need to make sure that we keep people in our neighborhood and community, and that we plan for that. And so it has been my push that we have 1/3 of the housing as low income, 1/3 of the housing as moderate income, and 1/3 of it as market. We need to continue to push for that as much as possible, because if not, we will actually turn our community over and make it so that it is unaffordable for folks in our neighborhood and community. And so if you could have folks grab her information offline, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
All right. This is a yes or no answer, real quick. And we're going to start off with Jamarhl Crawford, work our way around to City Councilor Tito Jackson, then to Roy Owens. Is it progress that on a nearly $53 million project at 225 Center Street, contracting businesses of color in the city of Boston saw less than 1% of the money spent? Jamarhl Crawford.
I have to just give it yes or no. The answer is, of course, no, that's not progress. But there's a lot of stuff there in terms of the development, the construction, but also to the vendors who are able to come in and do some of the finishing work, install floors and windows and whatnot, and then who's going to occupy the ground floor businesses.
And City Councilor Tito Jackson will give you the same 20 seconds.
No, it's not progress on the business front. We need to do better for our MBEs and our WBEs, and we're working to make sure that the city has a disparity study so that there's actually a requirement. We have a requirement on the workforce side, but we don't have a requirement on the business side.
Roy Owens.
No, that's not progress. And the reason that's not progress because we don't have anyone speaking out in our behalf. Our city council, District 7, is not speaking out for us. And it's not progress also because the court ordered like 35 years ago that the school department should have 35% minorities. And now that the school system is approximately 90% minorities, we should be asking for maybe 60% in terms of the city itself. So the city itself is not in compliance. So they're not going to try to push and demand from private contractors.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. And here at Touch 106.1 FM, we don't use the word minority. Sunshine.
The violence in Roxbury is alarming, right? And it happens in a number of different ways. In our homes, on the streets, robberies and people's homes being victimized by outsiders. And, you know, the tragedies are just basically our everyday existence in this community. How and what is the plan to deal with the violence in District 7 in a comprehensive, collaborative way that allows all members of the community to collectively be engaged? In your leadership, how will you use the council?
City Councilor Tito Jackson.
Thank you very much. This is something that we've been working on since day one. We worked with organizations like Teen Empowerment. We're working with Liz Walker and Roxbury Presbyterian around providing services at Warren Gardens. We've done peace marches, or Enough is Enough peace marches. And in addition, at the council, I've co-founded a subcommittee on gun and youth violence. And we're continuing to work on this very important issue because we know the root of this issue is really the issue of poverty. And we need to make sure that our young people have an opportunity to get jobs and to have opportunities that will bring themselves out of poverty and get them away from the violence and put down the guns.
Roy Owens.
Well, we have a thing that when people run for office, the first thing we got to do is get rid of the guns. And get rid of the guns to me means degentrification for the black community. It means that because you're going to drive them out. And so we don't have a voice in City Hall to recognize these code words. When we need a voice in City Hall to recognize code words and realize that what that means is they're going to be cleaning out the African American community as we know it now, pushing it further and further out from where we are now. So I'm a little weary for people who first thing they want to run for office is we got to get all the guns. I've heard there are people, I think Bossier, who's on trial for killing maybe 100 people, but I haven't heard anything about getting rid of the guns in South Boston and other areas. What I'm saying is, why is it always when they talk about gun violence and stuff like that, you're jumping on Roxbury? We don't make guns here in Roxbury. We don't make drugs here in Roxbury. But the guns and the drugs and stuff are sold on the street. So what we need is policy and places in the plug when police department use people's who are, get caught doing crimes, come back into the community and start setting up gangs and stuff like that. We need rules to put them in jail. That's the person who, had all these phony crimes and locked all these people in jail.
Jamarhl.
So we need to deal with that.
Yes, first of all, I just want to say, because we didn't get the chance to do this at the debate the other night, to kind of, examine and analyze a little bit. So the work that Councilor Jackson just alluded to, I would like for people to really be mindful of the time frame that this occurred. And the time frame for his reaction to violence with all the things that he mentioned, the gun hearing, working with Liz Walker and Teen Empowerment, the Enough is Enough, all happened since I met with him and told him that I was running for office, and one of my major points of critique was around what I felt felt was a lackluster or really non-existent effort around addressing or dealing with the violence. I noted that in the 2 years that he's been in office, he hadn't convened or organized a single meeting around the top 3 issues in our community, those being violence, education, and employment. So thusly after that, I do notice that Councilor Jackson became more active on those regards. But Enough is Enough was a 7-week peace rally that went to various areas of violence and whatnot, and I haven't heard of any tangible results out of that or any measurable outcomes.
Counselor? Oh, did we start off with the counselor?
No, that's fine. You did start with me, but I can definitely, I definitely love to bring.
We did start.
We did, okay.
I think we.
No,
I think
we're going around.
Okay.
We're going around. My bad.
Touch 106.1 FM, the fabric of the black community. If you are just tuning in, we have in studio District 7 candidates for City Council. The incumbent, of course, Councilor Tito Jackson, Jamarhl Crawford, who is a write-in candidate, as well as Roy Owens, who are all wanting to represent you in District 7 on the City Council. Are we going to the phone lines, Brother Charles?
Yes, we will.
617-505-1061.
Go ahead, Carly. You're live.
Thank you. I'm here in District 7, so any of the candidates that feel they can help me with this, I have a pencil and paper in hand. I have a loved one who has been, who is totally innocent. I passionately believe is totally innocent of the indictment which he is being held on of first-degree murder. Besides the public defender's office, is there any other resource here in District 7 that I could reach out to help for my loved one to gain his freedom, which I believe he justly is entitled to?
We'll start off with Roy Owens. Thank you for that call.
Yeah, we have the NAACP who represent African American community who should be willing to be able to do that. Secondly, we also have volunteer lawyers. We go to the Lawyers Guild, and they will give you people sometime who will do that. Say for some interesting case, and your case sounds interesting to me, and they will take it pro bono. So I would suggest that you would do that. Contact them to the Lawyers Guild, and also they have like if you go to court on Wednesday night, I think it's the Boston Housing Court, some of the other. They have lawyers who are sitting there who will give you advice how to get free counseling and will do pro bono for you. So I would suggest that you take advantage of those opportunities.
Go ahead, Jamal.
Yeah, so when I mention groups, in this context, these are not just groups that I, picked out of the phone book at random. These are groups that I've worked with on behalf of too many wrongful convictions, cases of police brutality, so on and so forth. So as Roy correctly did mention, the NAACP, Lawyers Guild, those are nice. Also, you need to get an attorney, and you need to talk to people like Attorney Howard Freeman. You need to call people like Professor Charles Ogletree and James Allen Fox, who are working on the Innocence Project. James Allen Fox is a professor out of Northeastern, and of course Ogletree is out of Harvard. And there are a lot of resources available for people who are wrongfully convicted. You should also talk to the DA's office. DA, shout out to Dirty Dan Conley's office, because when he took office, Suffolk County was the second in the country for wrongful convictions, and since he has come in, it's an issue that he's had to deal with, and you should bring it up to the DA's office, the prosecutor's office, to see if there can be some relief there, to at least have them take another look at the case.
Counselor?
In addition to the things that were mentioned, I would also say Greater Boston Legal Services, but also, as Roy and Jamal noted, the NAACP, Lawyers Guild, as well as the Greater Boston Legal Services would be the places that I would point you.
Touch 106.1 FM, the fabric of the black community. All three gentlemen in the studio here seemingly represent a different segment of who they can or who would be the most likely voter to elect either of the three. And so the question that I have for all three of you is, why are the other two candidates all wrong to hold the seat of District 7?
Jamarhl Crawford.
I wouldn't say that they're all wrong.
You're not as qualified as you to hold the seat of District 7.
I don't. I'm uncomfortable with that equation. All I can say is that what I bring to the table is different. I have a fierce sense of advocacy. I have a track record of work, and I think that's what people should do the research and focus on. I have a platform with over 50 points in it on issues of public safety and transparency and accountability, so on and so forth. But really and truly, I do hope that we get a chance to actually have a little bit of interaction, because as you noted in the beginning of this, I said that the counselor has not had a district office. He says that that is untrue. I'd like to hear, if not, where is it? I know he's not talking about the campaign office that he just erected for this campaign season. So if there has been a District 7 office for the past 2 years and I don't know where it is, that's also troubling. And then the last point that we made also too that he wanted to respond to as well, I think we need to have a little time for some interaction.
Well, I know the counselor has to leave at the bottom of the hour. So, Counselor, this is your chance to answer those questions.
Couple things. First off, people need to understand what a district office means. Chuck Turner, if you go and look on Chuck Turner's OCPF, Chuck Turner is $160,000 in debt. So when we talk about district offices, we need to also talk about the issue of fundraising that would also support that. He personally is $160,000 in debt. So I would ask that everyone who has an opportunity contribute to former Councilor Turner for his service. People need to understand there's not a budget for a district office. We have had roving office hours in and around the community, and we're going to continue to have that. At the point where we have a budget for an office, then we will move forward on that. I've worked hard every single day to make sure that our community and our young people in particular have had opportunities that they didn't have in the past. We actually have a Taekwondo program that is actually running in 5 of our schools. We have
30 more seconds.
Okay, thank you. We have a brand new playground at the Higginson Lewis. We have put forth the first CSI day for young people in our community to learn about crime scene investigation. I've worked hard every single day at the council as well as in the community, and I will continue to work hard to make sure that our community gets the best. Interestingly, and just make sure everyone moves their car on Fridays, because prior to me being in office, none of the streets up here actually had street cleaning, and now they actually have street cleaning. So we have an opportunity to do some things and have some assets that we haven't had in the past. So I really appreciate this opportunity. I would truly appreciate your support on November 5th.
It's Touch 106.1 FM. We're going to have to go to break, and City Councilor Tito Jackson is going to have to leave, but we will continue this segment with Jamarhl Crawford and, of course, Roy Owens. Thank you.
I hope that while he's in the travel, maybe he could even call in.
Sure. That sounds with this age and technology, we can make it happen for real.
In transit, I'm saying. If you still got like 10 minutes while you're driving or whatever.
So, do you all want to have a debate on Monday? Would y'all like to have a? No, it's not going to work.
Well, I'm saying I'm going to be knocking on. I don't know what you're going to do on Monday. I'm going to be knocking on doors on Monday.
Okay. Would you like to do a debate tomorrow at 9 o'clock?
But it's GOTV,
huh? I'm just asking the question because of what happened just now. Yeah. That's all.
We both need to be knocking on doors and talking
about
folks.
So then the
doors are being knocked on right now
while out there. That's all. All right? And make it fair for everyone.
Yes, it did.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys. November 5th, guys.
Thank you.
How long is this break, Brother Charles?
4 minutes.
4 minutes?
Yeah.
Are you calling back in?
Don't, you're not stopping. Yeah, keep the camera on, please.
Oh, okay, 989. Call the 989.
District office, street corner. Where's this point?
Go ahead and take it now.
Ladies, let's get focused.
Take it to the bank and get ready to send it. If you want to send it electronically.
Tracy, can you check my car and make sure I didn't get a ticket and then put it in the parking lot for me with my license plate facing the wall?
Those of you that
What side of the street is it?
No, yeah, exactly. Which side? I have no idea, but I just, okay, let's start all over again. My license plate is expired. I don't care about no parking or cleaning and all that other stuff.
And Trust Company.
We left.
Attention,
He said he was gonna call.
Sherlin
All right, so here's our problem with the whole
19522.
It's tough with those time breaks.
60619.
lot.
It's time
So
for
that,
us
you know,
to get up and do something for ourselves.
it's not good. So
Government
this
is
office,
not going to help us any more than we are willing to help ourselves.
Make personal designs. You've heard our promotions. You've seen our work. We are an official embroiderer for Touch 106.1 FM. Now you know our number 617-445-0424. Making Personal Designs is a high-quality commercial embroidery business located in Roxbury. Do you have a small business and need logos embroidered on your uniforms? Don't have a logo? Let our team.
Good morning, good morning, good
Making
morning,
Personal
good morning.
Designs is a certified black and blue business. We specialize in small orders and all work is done in-house. Let Making Personal Designs help you with your embroidery needs.
All right,
Sports
we'll make
teams,
sure that
special
they give
gifts,
us their
business
contact
uniforms, and more. Call
All right.
617-445-0424 or go to www.makeitpersonaldesigns.ws.
Well,
Follow us on
we-
Facebook at Make It Personal Designs. Let
We're
Make
gonna
It
have to
Personal
listen
Designs
if
help
we
you
can.
with all
And
your
we'll
embroidery
make
needs.
sure
Let
I
us make it
leave your
personal.
number. How about that?
617
What is it? Hurry up.
0424. That's my money.
No, you won't.
What's up about that?
All right, I got a
Are
contact.
you done?
We're going to 9, we're supposed to be here from 9 to
You know
10.
that?
You know what? I told them to
You're gonna stay till 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man, that's horrible.
Okay.
I don't get a chance to dish.
Quiet on the set.
All right, excuse me.
Touch 106.1 FM is the fabric of the black community, where you can feel and hear the difference 24/7, 365 and a quarter days. Let me tell you something. The phone calls are coming in, and City Councilor Tito Jackson will not be leaving. He will be here during the duration, and there are some questions that were asked. He was able to answer some of them, and we're going to get to some more of those questions. But also, the phone line, 617-445-1061 is the phone number. Again, 617-445-1061. In the studios, Roy Owens, candidate for District City Councilor, District 7. We have write-in candidate Jamarhl Crawford in the studios, along with the incumbent City Councilor, District City Councilor Tito Jackson. The phone number here is 617-445-1061. Let's go to the phone lines and get back on track. Yep, we're going to get back on track. Jamarhl, Counselor, then Roy, because I know Roy doesn't like to go first.
No, I didn't have a
it's
chance
okay this
to,
time. All right. This is the beautiful thing about our family. So we're going to make sure that you are first.
No, I didn't have a chance to answer the question.
Okay, then answer the question, because everybody's know what's happening. Let's go on.
Okay. First of all, Jamal had mentioned in terms of why should I be elected city council as opposed to what Jamal is supposed to where Councilor Tito. I think Jamal said he'd like to see more like little police stations area around here. We have 90% of the people who are in prison today are African American people of color. We don't need more police stations. Other thing is, Tito led to close down the churches on September the 29th. So we don't need people who are in office who are fighting against the churches. The only way we're going to change our community is get the church involved. And I'm for the faith-based initiative program and getting the church involved. The reason we have violence today in the school because we don't have a church involved into the community. And we need to do that, get it back. And when church was involved in the community, before they took prayer out of school, we didn't have the kind of violence. We didn't have metal detectors today. So we took the church out. We have metal detectors in, guns in, because we don't have it. And we have City Hall fighting against the churches. So we need somebody to speak out for the churches.
Thank you, Roy Owens. We really appreciate that.
All
All right, now we're back on track. We're going to take this phone call and we're going to bring it to Jamarhl Crawford, then to City Councilor Tito Jackson, then to Roy Owens. Let's go to the phone lines. Go ahead, caller, you're live.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning.
morning.
This is Reverend Collier.
Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
Miss Collier.
I wanted to ask, what would each one of you do with all of the construction that's happening in Roxbury, and also the influx of the whites coming in? I'm looking at maybe this would be another gentrification, and I wanted to know what would you do if that happened, because I'm looking at the elderly building that was hurriedly put up, and there are a lot of problems in that building. And then now the city hall that's coming downtown. So I'm a little concerned about that. So what would you do, each one of you, what would you do to stop it if this was really what was going on?
Jamarhl.
Well, first, I'm going to try to answer that quickly because I really wanted to get back on the other point that I was unable to really delve into. But in terms of the development and construction that's going in the area, one of my first stops when I get into City Hall will be with the city lawyers, and we'll attempt to have a meeting between the city lawyers and some lawyers that I know, because I just really believe that this thing is not going to be solved with city council procedures. I think that we really need to work to either take this before a court to enforce the Boston Residents Jobs Policy, which has never been adhered to, and also two, we need to maybe deal with state legislation and find out, everyone is so afraid of the city charter and everything, but we're operating off of some very antiquated laws, and they need modernization. So I think we need to delve into some of that and see if we can kind of unstick the machine. But I did want to say on this point, the district office, there's no way that it should cost $160,000. You can get a district office for $1,000 a month, as I've done with the campaign headquarters. That'll cost $12,000 per year. If you're at a salary of $87,500 per year, that leaves you over $75,000 a year to play with. My best job in my life was $30,000 a year. That would still have me at double 2.5% over that. Street cleaning has been going on for years. My family's owned the house that I'm at for 48 years. Street cleaning has been going on in Roxbury at least since I'm a teenager, and I got the tickets to prove it.
Counselor.
Well, first off, street cleaning on the streets on this side has not been going on, and I think Brother Charles will actually speak to that because he knows, because he's actually here every single day. One of the things that we'll do relative to construction is to make sure that we update the law because the Boston Residents Job Policy in other places has actually been challenged and thrown out, and we don't want that to happen in the city of Boston, so we need to update that law. In addition, we also need to not only look at the workforce side of things, we need to work on how communities, our community is actually able to build wealth, and that's through businesses. So we want to make sure that we are having folks start their own businesses in construction, and they're able to get a piece of the action. In addition, one of the things that was said before is that I had not convened meetings. That is actually not true. For Madison Park, well over a year and a half ago, I convened a meeting, and what that has resulted in is new leadership at Madison Park, a new partnership with Roxbury Community College, where there's a 5-year connection between Madison Park Vocational Technical High School and Roxbury Community College, and those students are ending up having an opportunity to walk out with an associate's degree.
And Roy Owens is next.
Okay. I think the number one thing we need to do is deal with the residency policy in terms of City Hall and having an advocate in City Hall who are willing to speak out on that behalf. We don't have a person that's willing to speak out on it in terms of residential requirements. For whatever reason. I think it has to do with lots who are putting money in your campaign, and so I think that's affecting our current council person. Also, it's affecting who supports you, and I think the problem with our current city council person, he's involved in his support is coming not from the African American community but from other areas, so he does not stand out or really speak out concerning the residential job policy. I think one of the greatest city councils that we ever had in the city of Boston was Councilor Bruce Bowling, who invented the job policy. Other thing I think you talk about in terms of what we have to do in our community, African American community of color, should say, well, we're going to have to just say, in terms of the black community, we have to organize around setting up council and demand that the people who run for office respond to that council.
Thank you, Roy. Sunshine,
Well,
we have about 7 minutes left.
you all should be quite aware of the dispute between the bus drivers union, the new contracted Veolia International outfit that is responsible for transporting our children to and from school, as well as with the city. And these bus drivers many live in this district. The students were affected by a strike. And they've also said that their only representation from the council has come from City Councilor Charles Yancey. How will you intervene in that, and what is your position on the labor disputes which go far beyond what mainstream media has stated is the issue between the three parties involved?
Councilor Tito Jackson.
Yes, I actually just met with Councilor Yancey yesterday about this very important issue. I actually advocated for the bus drivers union in getting their contract. I wish they had actually come back to us prior to the strike. I think it's absolutely unacceptable ever to use young people to be negotiation tools. Those young people should not have been left on the corners. But when it comes down to the very real issues that we have with Veolia around their rights, their ability, they're actually driving around being told to use their cell phones, which is actually against their contract and illegal, because the radios in the buses don't work. So there's a great deal of real validity to the issues that they have. But the underlying issue I have is that it should never be the case that any young person is left on a street corner in the cold, especially in this day and age when anything could happen to them.
And just for clarity, City Councilor Tito Jackson, there was no strike. Actually, the bus drivers were inside the studios, and they explained to us and showed us pictures how the mayor and the transportation company actually locked them out from getting to the buses. Also, when they're given the clipboards, the keys are on the clipboards, and they were not given the keys. So there was no strike.
Brother Charles, can I just let all three gentlemen know that if they would like to support the bus drivers and see firsthand what is happening between the bus drivers and Veolia, today there is an action that everyone in the community is invited to attend. There is a demonstration that the bus drivers will hold on the Freeport Street bus yard. And we'll give out the telephone number. It's 339-364-0999. 339-364-0999. So they can have a first-hand account of what the bus drivers' grievances are. There are a number of them who are in disciplinary action, almost waiting to be fired. So this is an opportunity for the counselor as well as for Jamarhl and Roy to see that action.
And we just had to clear the air because I noticed the Globe and Channel 5 and everyone else is talking about a strike that happened. And we had them in the studios, and they clearly stated it was not a strike. They were locked out. Roy Owens?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of more issues dealing with the bus strike. Just saying we're striking and the children's and problems. You have a problem on the buses where fighting is taking place, total disrespect, breakdown in terms of the family values and things, respect for one another. And the bus drivers, if they touch a child or something like that, people say, oh, if there's a fight on the bus, why don't you get involved? Why don't you touch it? Why don't you get in? The same problem you have in the schools. If it's a fight in the school, the teachers don't get involved. They don't touch it. They just say, hey, stop it or whatever it is. Because if they touch it, next thing, they're up for a suit. So they're asking some kind of way to sit down to resolve these issues where we have to have, more people's on the bus, make sure you have more monitors on the bus, make sure you have more cameras on the bus, because these things are going to have to be resolved. And I think the only real way you're going to do that is if you have to really put back People don't like to hear the word, but you're going to have more faith-based initiative program back into it and support it. And unless we do that, and we can talk all day, but unless we do some real action, it's not going to change. I think
Speaking of action, we only have a few minutes left, so we're going to change the rules real quick. And I think everybody's going to love this one right here. I was watching the debate Tuesday, and they gave each candidate a chance to ask another candidate a question. So, gentlemen, here's your chance to ask one of the candidates a question, and then we're going to give them the chance to answer it.
I didn't get to do the school bus thing.
No, go ahead. That gives them a chance to write out their questions. Go right ahead.
Well, I will stand with the school bus drivers, as they have stood with me time and time before. They have been participatory in many of the organizational efforts that we've done, from Occupy the Hood to Justice for Trayvon Martin and many others, mass incarceration, the 3 strikes. They've come out, they've put their bodies on the line with us, they've helped disseminate literature and information, they've brought the sound system in many cases. So I stand with them, and I count the 2 Steves as friends of mine. So I'm happy to stand with them, and why would I stand with a multinational corporation who is disrupting the services that our children need? And I do find it unfortunate that children were left at the bus stops, of course, but we need to get in and fix this situation. I just want to touch on what the council said about Madison Park, because it's funny. Years ago, he took credit for bringing in the beloved principal, Keon Jackson. He took credit for bringing him in. Then when Keon was under scandal, then he took credit for getting him out and bringing in this new leadership. So then he takes credit for bringing in the new leadership. And you might want to call down there, because if I understand correctly, what I'm hearing is that new principal in Madison has already submitted their 2 weeks resignation. If we could check on that and see if that is fine. So all things are not well in Madison. And the partnership between Madison and RCC remains to be seen what happens there. But I've never heard of the way to strengthen 2 institutions that are in distress is by partnering 2 in distress organizations to make it stronger.
Now's the time for those questions that each candidate can ask of the other. So we will start with Councilor Jackson to choose and select whomever you wish of the 2 candidates to ask your question.
Roy, so you have brought up the issue of Circle the City, which is attended by more than 10,000 folks in our neighborhood and
That's
community.
not correct either.
And so my question is, why wouldn't it be a good thing to have Blue Hill Ave shut off for a period of time, where at that time there was actually no drug dealing, no prostitution, none of those negative things that were going on. All we saw were families in our community coming together. Why is that a bad thing? And also, it is my understanding that Jesus spent a lot of time out of the church. And so why wouldn't it be a good thing for the churches along that path, as many did, to connect and commune with the community?
Roy?
There was less than 500 people in between Dudley and Blue Hill Ave, because the churches was closed and they weren't allowed to park or have service on Sunday. They couldn't park on Blue Hill Ave, couldn't come within 1 block of Blue Hill Ave. And so there was no 10,000 people. There was less than 500 people there. And the people who did come, I think there's part of your group that you support, the young lesbian and gay youth. And I think there, and they set their jukeboxes in front of the churches and put up bandstands where the churches were and played the music very loud. And some of them was dancing. They held their behind, bouncing up and down. And they had letters on the backside, so you can see the backside. And there was drinking, and the liquor store was open, so there was drinking. And there was I seen vulgar language and stuff like that. I took pictures so you can see what I'm talking about. And they set up those things in front of the churches purposely. So if you tried to have church, you couldn't have it. Now, that was wrong.
Roy,
So
now you have a question.
My question to you, Tito, is why you stated that on Monday night that the gay and lesbian group is the largest growing group, fastest growing group in, I guess, Boston or Massachusetts. I'm like, why did you say that they're the fastest growing group? And if they are, how is that becoming possible?
Actually, Roy, you misheard me. I said they are the fastest growing population of homeless, and that we don't have enough beds for our gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning youth. We don't want to put them in adult facilities based on some of the issues that they would have there. So they are by far the fastest growing population of homeless people in the city of Boston. And they are some of the most vulnerable folks. Oftentimes they're put out of their homes. So we want to make sure that this group of vulnerable young people is not further exploited, and that we have the services that we need to make sure that we take care of them. And I will fight for that every day.
Jamarhl Crawford.
I really don't have a question. You know what I mean? I really don't have a question. And if I could, to just make a statement on a couple of little points. So, for instance, what Roy brings up about the churches, this is the beauty of our community. You have a person like Roy who has these very strong feelings that I don't particularly share, but he has a right to them, and so he's on this side. And then you have Tito and the city and all the people who participated in the festival, which I was at, had a good time. My only complaint is that they didn't have food vendors and other things that they could have had to make it, all the businesses around. Flame should have had a stand there, and that could have brought it up. But here's a quick fix to me. It did not make sense to do it on a Sunday. That's where I agree with you. Should have just did it on a Saturday. Saturday is a better day for a community thing. I don't know what the logistics of were that, but in the planning process, they could have easily, I think, have done that on a Saturday as opposed to a Sunday. Then we wouldn't even be having this never-ending discussion about this, because Roy is going to grab onto this like a dog with a bone, and he ain't going to let it go. So really, my only question then would be, I'd like to hear, Roy, what do you really think of Councilor Tito Jackson?
I think that he's not faithful in terms of the things he say. I stood on the board to create Madison Park Community Schools so that people would have outlets, and he's taking credit for Madison Park. And secondly, he talks about in terms of the age, that's a state regulation. The state move the age up for the dropout rate, and if you want to have a driving license or things like that, you have to stay in school and you have to stay to a certain age. It has nothing to do with Tito. He just more or less just kind of restated what the state policy is. I don't see anything that he's done. I don't see him standing for any positive values. He's fighting against the churches, and I'm saying this.
Time. Thank you, Roy. We appreciate that, and we're at the top of the hour. LPWTCH Boston. 30 seconds, Tito Jackson, this is your elevator pitch.
Thank you so much, Brother Charles. I appreciate the Touch 106.1 family. I appreciate this opportunity. And I appreciate Jamarhl Crawford as well as Roy Owens for putting themselves out there to step forward and run and to lead in our community. I have a track record of leadership in our neighborhood and community, helping our young people get a better education, helping to meet with organizations and pull the best ideas around working with the issues of violence, as well as making sure that we take care of basic city services. I've been doing this. I'm going to continue to do it, and I would appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve as your District 7 counselor. Please vote for Tito Jackson on November 5th.
Roy Owens.
First, I'd like to say giving thanks to Touch 10.
That's good enough. Go ahead. Go right here, brother.
They've changed up a little bit here. Anyway, I also like to say thanks to Jamarhl and Tito for showing up today and having this wonderful debate. I'm running for city council because we need more outreach. We need someone who is standing up for the community. As you know, 70% of all AIDS cases involving males are African Americans, and 80% of all women that involve AIDS cases are African American female, and 90% of the prison system are African American people of color. We need to change that. We need a voice to speak out for it. And I ask your vote for Roy Owens for City Council, District 7 on Tuesday, November the 5th, for better government and someone who will speak out for the African American community and for those who are not represented.
Jamarhl Crawford.
People, if you think that everything is going fine and dandy in Roxbury and you want things to stay the same, vote for Tito Jackson. If you want things to get worse, vote for Roy Owens. If you want to see change and see Roxbury get better and have a fierce sense of advocacy, then I'm submitting that you should vote for me. I'm a write-in sticker candidate Tuesday, November 5th. You'll write my name in, Jamarhl Crawford, at the polls, or you'll get a sticker at each of the polling locations and affix it to the ballot in the blank space provided to you that shows that you want a choice other than the ones presented. I'm endorsed by Mel King, Bill Owens, Doris Bunty, Minister Don Muhammad, Diane Wilkerson, Attorney Chokwe Lumumba from Jackson, Mississippi, who was the lawyer for Assata Shakur, Matulu Shakur, Geronimo Pratt, and Tupac Shakur, and many more. I don't have time.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. And I'm going to say something for 15 seconds and then Sunshine to take us home. I'll see you today at 11:30 at the Roosevelt Middle School. Yours truly will be there providing some entertainment for our youth. And remember, footsteps in the sands of time are not made by sitting down. Sunshine.
I just want to thank all three of the gentlemen, particularly for being here and wanting to represent District 7. I am a girl of Roxbury. I am watching what is happening in my community. I see black people being forced out, pushed out, and I would love to see any one of you three who could possibly hold that seat, be the fiercest leader that you can, and really utilize that platform of City Hall beyond just it being a political tool, but a way for members of this community to become more organized, educated, and active in city government. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting
Thank you
us.
for having us.
And a wasted vote for Jamarhl.
It's a wasted vote for me.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So we on with that bet? If I do better than you, you come feed people with me, and if you do better than me, I'll clean your church for a whole month.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you for coming back, too. Appreciate it.
Yes, indeed.